episode 2 update of the building of Jill's jalopy. Jill doing some work testing out the seat. Wonder Dog wondering how she got up there. So a quick update to where we've gotten to. Okay, so I'm back with you and give you an update to where we're at and decision I made. I'm kind of torn between doing a how-to video and just updating you people on stuff progress. So I think the way to do this is where other people have done good videos about skills. I may point you to those videos, I want to credit those people, and I don't want to duplicate what they've done because that information is already out there. And so we're going to show you blurbs. There are going to be some blurbs cut into this where we found tricks that we felt that helped us, but I'm not going to take you through every inch of running fuel lines or brake lines or anything else. Also, I want to make two things clear. One is lately YouTube has been putting some rather sketchy ad videos on. Just so you know, the content makers, we have no choice in what they show. And so if you see something weird, know that we had nothing to do with it. Two, nobody is compensating us for these videos. So if I point you to a supplier or something, it's somebody we used and we had good luck with. Vice versa, if there's a tool we didn't like or something we didn't like, we're probably going to tell you about that too. So it's been about 5 weeks since the last update. Progress. One is it's gotten really cold in northern Illinois, southeast Wisconsin, and we had to take a week off to see it over my shoulder. The county in its wisdom decided not to let me run a gas line out to the barn where we're building, and so we took a week off to install a heat pump, and it's working great. No gas needed. Last time we were here, we were talking about running brake lines, and you can see brake lines have been run. So the hose has been replaced by stainless steel braided lines. These are race car lines. They came from a company called Pegasus Auto up in Milwaukee. They were do-it-yourself kit. There are all kinds of things online where you can see how to make them up. But basically, they're Aero-Quip fittings hooked to stainless steel braided hose. We chose to do that, and the lower brake line has been run, and that is a 1/4 inch 50-52, I think it was. Yeah, 50-52. We have not got all the hangers on yet, so we've got to put supports in for these. We've got one idle clamp low, and we've got them run into the brakes themselves. And so the plan right now is we're going to have a little fairing out here with a little opening in the bottom, so we'll probably make a little custom aluminum cover just for this bottom part, and that'll keep that tucked in. Also, we've run fuel lines, and I'm going to cut a blurb in here. I'm not sure how that's going to come out. The trick we found for determining, but the goal is, thanks, Doug. I've just gotten bowled over by the mutt. So we have both the front and aft brake lines run. We use 3003 for this for a couple of reasons. And as I said, I'm going to cut some blurbs in. We kind of put our T on the wrong side up here, I think, compared to most people. But it does all go downhill. And so somewhere in here, if everything's gone right, you should next see a clip of how we did that. And we used a laser level to help set it up to make sure everything's going downhill. The only thing I'm not quite sure of under here, we're downhill for sure to the bottom of this frame member. And again, I don't have the clamps in. I have a little corp, I forget what it's called. What? No, it's not Coroplast, but Cora something that I was playing around with tying it up with. So we still have some supports under here and gaskelators in and fuel valves in and all that good stuff is run. Okay, so tip for the day, we were trying to figure out how to run our longitudinal fuel lines and make sure that they are tipped down. So we've got the airplane blocked up right now, and it's blocked up. That blocking takes it up to about the height it would be on the tire. And the floor of the shop in here is fairly level. And so what we've done is we took a laser level and set it. And you want to go ahead and kill the lights, Jill, for me? And I think you can see it. That showing, I've got that level set just a little bit off level. I'm not sure, running through the fuel line in the front and running all the way back to show us how high we needed to be in the back, and we tried to do it with a level string, and we were close with a string with a bubble level, but this is a little more accurate. Didn't have to worry about it going around the curves. Whether we can work out the rest of the details, I have no idea at this point, but that's a quick tip for you guys who are trying to figure out how to lay this out so you don't have a low spot in your fuel, the aft fuel line. Anyway, let's take a look at this. So we've got our gas line in here. You can see it running up, and where we ran into a little interesting situation was right behind that. You can see where that grommet is. So we chose to put some MS grommets where the gas line was going through the metal, and we ran into that tab. Now the first tab, I bodged it, drilled, ground, filed, and really pretty much annihilated the tab anyway as being anything useful. And so for side 2, what we did is we're getting ready to run side 2. Hopefully I've got this in the right position. You can see it running up there. But you can see that tab again, and you can see where it was. So this time, to make things easier, I decided to just go ahead and cut it off. I'm sure there was a reason the tabs were put there, and I still have a little stub I could drive a small rivet through, or at least put a nice stainless steel or steel shanked pull rivet through if we need to support it there for covering. But that gets it out of the way. Hopefully this will help somebody else. I kind of agonized over the first one and really did it the hard way. It took me, I think, about 45 minutes or an hour of work to get a hole where I needed it. I suppose the other option would be a smaller grommet, but I really like having the grommets where the tubing is passing through metal to protect it. All right, so what we did, thank you, Wonder Dog. Okay, let me up here, is last night or the night before, I can't remember which, we ran the laser level along here to show it coming down. We have a union up. This is up under the right-hand door sill. We couldn't make it at one run. Now we're using the 3003 tubing, and so we could hand bend it. However, we had trouble negotiating this turn neatly. We back out here so you can get a better look at where it is. So we're on the turn to go up the doorpost, and we had trouble making that corner. And I know we tried some bulkhead fitting, some other stuff. We just couldn't get that to fit. So what I did is I slotted this, and you can see you can probably see through there. You can see, there we go. You can see the tubing running through, and we've got a grommet up here. And what I'm going to do is just make a small plate that'll fit under the grommet, probably going forward, and we'll just put some screws in it to screw it down. But I just could not do that without kinking it and get a good run and keep it above level. And then this fits in here, and then we come around the top. I don't know how other people have really done this. Anywhere it hits, hang on, let me back out again. Anywhere we hit metal, we're sliding tubing over it. So what we've done is taken, hang on, some of the same tubing, here we go, some of the same tubing we used for the checking the run of the hydraulic lines. Thank you, dear. Brain fart there. And we we're taking that tubing, and we'll slit it if we need to, or slide it on if there's an end available, and put that where we're hitting metal. So we're doing that instead of shrink tubing. And if I can find one out here, and then I'm securing it. There we go. I can secure that with safety wire. Okay, I've got one piece on there. I'm gonna get some of the 32. I've been using some bigger stuff. And so our routing came down. I didn't look at the drawing carefully enough. This is our T, and it runs downhill, certainly to that bend and underneath. And then we have a very slight drop off in that tube as it comes, there we go, as it goes under that frame member and then back up to the valve. I don't know that that's ideal. We'll try and minimize it, but hopefully we'll be okay. And we have run most of our cables at this point. So rudder cables, we started with this in the hole just in front of this when we ran it. My experience of making up cables is they seldom wind up too tight when you're hand laying them up. I worked as a rigger for quite a while. And so what we did is, and then we moved them back to allow, well, basically Jill was unable to reach the pedals. And we've run those, and we've got the flap cable run. And let me just take a minute to talk about these. In the directions online, it talks about 2 sets of long turnbuckles. And these are the MS versions that we're using. And basically, you don't need to use long turnbuckles apparently anyway. But we had some in the hardware kit we bought, so we used them. And then coming back, we've got elevator cable also run. And there's kind of a jumble in here. These are just, this light cable was just for me to test the run actually of the trim. We haven't got the trim yet. And just a word for anybody doing their rudder cable. When you get your hardware kit, you're gonna get 1 set of big shackles. And so far, seems to be where they need to go. So these are the bigger shackles with some tubing bushing cut to allow them to sit on the 3/16. But if you're wondering, that seems to be where those go. And they're just crimped up. We bought a tool from Aircraft Tool Supply, and then we've got, I put a little shrink wrap on to keep meat hooks from coming in. I did make 2 errors. Just a full disclosure, I did manage to make 2 errors. Both are on me. I didn't read instructions carefully enough. So there's some places you're gonna find the instructions are open to, let's say, interpretation. Yeah, that's a good word for it. However, this was totally on me. I just wanna highlight both errors I made, lest somebody else make them. The first has to do with the elevator cable. And so the cables, and so the elevator cables route back from the horn. You wanna give that a wiggle, Jill? Elevator, not rudder. There we go. Where it runs from there, one of them has to run through this bushing. One of them does not, although it looks like they could both go through. And if you're welding your own frame, I'd be tempted to put a second fair lead right here. The one that comes up the middle, which runs to the upper part of the horn. Let's see if I can get this in here. To the upper part of the horn in the back. You can see it be twitching it. Does not go through the fair lead. The one that goes to the bottom over there, so the far left cable as you're looking forward, does go through that fair lead, and I screwed up and ran them both with Jill, and there was a line in the manual, I just missed it, that warned me to do that. So that's one screw up. So hopefully that'll save somebody else the trouble. The other error I made is I misread the plan somehow, and I offset the trim, get my tape out of here, to the starboard side, to the right side of the aircraft rather than the left. I don't know that that makes a difference. It doesn't seem to. Anyway, that's 2 places I went wrong. Hopefully it'll save somebody else, the aggravation, and it was clearly on me. So the other thing that's happened since the last time is we've had a bit of a foam apocalypse here. So we talk about how things lead one to the other, and you wind up kind of with scope creep in your project. And so the other thing we had to start getting done was seats, because we needed to check seating position, things like rudder pedal positions, stick position, and all that stuff. In order to do that, you can't be sitting on a piece of plywood. So Jill is testing the seat right now to see if it's comfortable. And so there are gonna be a few clips in here of me doing the seat. We chose to do ours in layers. And we'll come over to the other side here. There's Wonder Dog again, chewing her blanket to shreds. And so layers, and I skipped any soft foam on mine. This is 2 inches of hard foam. And then everything else on here is medium, including the front. And you can see from the shape, we have a pretty substantial lower, lumbar support area.
And bolsters.
And bolsters. The bolsters are fairly light, but pretty heavy on the lumbar support. You know, that's personal preference, and I have a bad back. So you can see Jill's covered in foam. That's not dandruff. I'm covered in foam. Well, maybe some of it's dandruff. I don't know. But anyway, you know, carve your seats up and sit on them for a while and see how they feel. And so far, we're feeling pretty good about these. Haven't done the back. Now, the other thing we did a little bit differently is, let's pull a cushion off here, is we chose to support our seats. Really probably shouldn't have put this door in yet. All right, I'm gonna go around and do this from the other side. Go ahead and hop out. Okay, so a couple of things about the seat. We've seen people do a number of things with seat pans. One is obviously, I think it was Nev in New Zealand, he ran aluminum across, and I can't remember if it was riveted or screwed. You know, you bend it around the frame, and that'll give you a nice solid seat pan. And Colby, I know, was using springs, but while I had a bunch of seatbelt material running around, and we used this, we supported our Land Sailor seats this way as well. So we just have a grid of seat belts. They're sewn over in a loop because I have an industrial sewing machine, and they're tied off. This is not hardware store line. This is Spectra Cord Marine line. On the other side, it's doubled over here. That each strand, I think, has a breaking strength of 430 pounds or something. On the other side, I ran out of that, and that's pure Vectran, I think that is. Well, each one of those strands could tow your car. So pretty strong stuff. We figured that, you know, each seat belt lashing, each piece of it should hold 6,000 pounds. So with sewing, maybe that would take it down to 4,000. We really don't have it tied. That should be enough to support the seat, and it gives it a little bit of spring underneath like the springs do. It's not a really hard seat. The line allows us, if it comes loose or we get some stretch in it that we hadn't planned on, we can always go back, you know, pull the covering off and tie it off. So that's how we chose to do that. And then I just want to talk about the seat latch for a minute. So the new Model Bs have a drop-in seat latch, very low tech, but quite effective. It's down here. And those are normally done with a drop-in. And I wasn't totally thrilled with just letting gravity do that. This is a me thing. It might work fine on gravity, I'm sure it does, but I'd rather have it sprung. And so what I've done is put a spring around the outside, and the top of it is, this was a fine thread nut, I think actually a grade 8, but regardless, it was fine thread nut that has been put on a lathe and turned down to make a nice little cap, which also allows me to a certain extent to adjust the tension of the pin. And it's just a pull up and it springs in kind of deal. I like that. I think that was a change worth making. I'd love to have the spring internal. The other thing is, if you look under here, we have changed the lock nuts that came on the seat from the factory for thinner shear nuts. Reason for that change was pretty simple. We have 3 AMPIAs we're working with on this project, one of whom is our tech counselor. And the way the seat arrived to us, the nuts were sticking out beyond the end of the threads. And kind of an airplane, that's a bozo no-no. You really, really would like to have a thread showing through. So given those nuts are not in tension, that whole mechanism is in shear, we just went ahead and changed those out. I'm not sure it was the hugest deal. It's not like they were hanging on there loose, but it's going to make our tech counselor, who's also an AMPIA, much, much happier. Okay, so we have one other thing we're working through. Maybe somebody's got some suggestions. Look, you're looking at the fuel valve right now down by Jill's feet. Whoop, and if I can get my big fat finger. So you're looking at the fuel valve right now down by Jill's feet, and we're a little concerned about this. And that is reach to that fuel valve. And so you can see, if you can see Jill around Hobbit, for her to get to that valve, Hobbit, get your big fat furry face out of there, that's quite a reach. She has, getting a lot of dog. All right, I'm gonna film it from the other side. All right, let's try this again. All right, so we showed the fuel valve from the other side, but the dog keeps sticking her face in the shot because she's being helpful tonight. So go ahead and reach for the fuel valve. And you can see, maybe you can't from there, but no, go ahead, do it one more time. There we go. Jill's got to really stretch for that fuel valve, and honestly, it's not much better for me. She's in the front hole right now. Okay, so with the fuel valve, the reach is not better for me. I really need to reach, especially when it's in 3-point stance. I'm a little concerned about how I'm going to do this with a 4-point belt on if I need to do it quickly. My thought right now is to create something kind of like a gear shift lever that comes up, and that means I at least don't need to reach for the floor when I do that. And I'm probably going to play around with that. I'm sure maybe by next video even you'll see me just fooling around with it and seeing if I can get that adjusted and done the way in a way we're comfortable with. We looked at moving it. I looked at moving it down to this beam if I've got it in focus and running the fuel through there, but you really can't run the gascolator and stuff down there. I'm sure there are many more complicated ways I could do it, but I think just making something that extends the grip so you're not having to reach to the starting to eat the cushion. Hava, you're an idiot. All right, this is what I got to deal with. Anyway, that there's probably some way we can just boost that up so we're not leaning to the floor. I would really like that. I'll let you know how that goes. Maybe somebody else can use it. But especially, my back is not going to get better over the next 10 years. We know it's going to get worse. So anything I can do that involves me not having to crouch. But also, if you've got a fire or something, you got to be able to lay hands on that pretty quickly. And the positioning's a little awkward where it is right now. And I think that covers about everything we've done. We have the firewall, obviously. That's just hung temporarily. We did the top couple of holes in here. And we hung it just to see. We needed to get an idea of positioning of stuff, figure out whether the brake reservoirs would clear the firewall, stuff like that. They do. And we'll look forward to updating you in a few weeks.